sound familiar? Well, you might recognize this voice from this game.
Heya! The name's Mayday!
Or this game.
Money isn't the only motivating factor. Could have gone to the factory owners too, you know.
Or this game.
Same as always, Flower Child. Feeding the masses and sticking it to the man.
Meet Su Ling Chan, a Malaysian voice actor who has done everything from narrating your favorite radio commercials to being behind some of our best-loved video game and cartoon characters. We sit down with Su Ling to talk about how she built a unique career in voice acting, landing the part of Bailu in Hoyoverse's latest Honkai Star Rail, and what it means to really embody a character using just her voice.
You want to be an anime voice actor? You have to study English dubs.
Welcome to the 20M podcast, everyone, all of our listeners out there. The show about deep diving into video games and the people behind them. I am Rino. We have Arief. Say hi, Arief.
Hello. I hate when you instruct me to say hello. It's like I'm your pet dog or something. It's like say hi, Rino.
Let's do it. And today, besides Arief, we have a very special guest. We have Su Ling.
Hi, hello. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, you're right. Clap track would have been appropriate there. We'll work on it. We'll work on the production side of things, you know. Mm-hmm. Or we'll add it in post. The loudest clapping you've ever.
Yeah. Fanfare as well. Everything. How are you feeling today? How's everyone doing?
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
If I say bad, is there a
if you say bad, then we stop and we just deep dive into that. We have a impromptu psychotherapy session, and then we try and uncover why you're feeling bad.
The only reason why I feel a little bit nervous right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because we have a mega superstar.
Oh my god,
voice actor on the pod. You know, arguably probably our biggest episode ever. Looks at all the previous guests. No, I was wondering why I felt a little bit of unease, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done my Star Rail dailies today, and it's like I have to do them before I can, because I'm jumping off to do another thing right after we end here, and it's I don't know if I can do my dailies today, so I'm a little bit stressed out about it. So I'm feeling unease.
Oh no,
we're all doing it. Su Ling's doing it right now, actually.
Yeah,
no,
we're all
take
a pause right now.
I need to see that woman in the Bella Box Square and then do the cart thing. That's the dailies. Right, at least the dailies that I'm getting.
Oh, the moving the boxes.
Yes, the moving the carts, and then
the carts.
Yeah, that dude, and then that woman in the square who wants to be, I think, a voice actor, or she's like Tanya.
Oh, that's so meta. Are you really?
Yeah,
I haven't got that one yet.
Yeah, she's in the square, and then you're supposed to talk to people and stuff like that. I don't remember what her name was. It starts with T. Yeah, you get
I hate talking to people, so I always do the other dailies. I'll do all the calyxes.
Oh yeah,
I'll refine the relic. I'll make more diet fried rice or whatever it's called.
Oh,
yeah.
I have not gotten
I'll max out the dailies.
That is so weird.
Really?
I get different dailies, I guess. I'm trying to Google what that daily is and what her name is. But I'm having no luck.
It's all right. We'll look it up.
We've got producers on the show. Producers, can we look that up? Can somebody get that?
While the producers check on that, Su Ling, I mean, we've kind of jumped right into the deep end already talking about Star Rail, but did you want to sort of introduce yourself for our listeners who may not know who you are?
Hi everyone. My name is Su Ling, and I am a voice actor. I'm in Honkai Star Rail as the official English voice for Bailu. My work, aside from Star Rail, is probably Mayday from No Straight Roads, and also Ying from Bobo Boy.
But it's, I guess, for all of us, we're here from Southeast Asia, I think the whole voice acting thing, at least from what I understand, it hasn't been something that's, it's not a very common career globally even, but then even more so in our part of the world, where I think we just consume a lot of Western media, or maybe Korean or Japanese media, and then we just deal with the subtitles. It's quite rare, I think, from this part of the world to be a voice actor.
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. So
it's you conned Hoyoverse to give
pretty much.
You conned all these people.
I am a professional voice actor. Then inside, I don't know what I'm doing.
I have a general like question on that side, right?
Mhm.
Because I think
Mhm.
like, you know, we have a lot of friends that pursue the creative arts and like obviously the performing arts and theater and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. Like I don't know, a lot of us I feel like are just can be theatrical people. But for voice acting, did you like grow up doing voices? I feel like that's got to be the most cliche like entry level question for voice actors. Like has was that always a thing?
Wasn't necessarily doing voices, but I talk to myself all the time. I'm crazy. I'm like, oh
Okay,
hey.
I don't know which one is more concerning.
So I used to talk to myself all the time. No, okay. By saying talk to myself, I would like when I was a kid, I would always create scenarios in my head based on like the anime I was watching. Like I heard a whole radio play
Mhm.
based on Akazukin Chacha
Oh my
in
god!
my
Did you watch Akazukin
brain.
Chacha as
I
well?
love Akazukin Chacha.
I loved it so
Yeah,
much.
and I watched the English
That was my magical
version
girl show.
on
That was on Cartoon Network,
yes,
wasn't it?
I used to have
Yes.
like radio plays in my head about Akazuki Chacha where I would like voice everybody. So I mean, yeah, and then I also used to watch oh shit, I don't know what it's called in English, but on Walai Toy there was a anime called Laptixi, but I don't
That
remember.
was an anime or what?
Yeah, there's a lot of anime on Walai Toy. It's all in Cantonese.
I
So
don't.
Nadesico, Martian
Okay, okay.
successor Nadesico. But I don't know why they
I've
call it
heard of this.
Laptekshi in Cantonese. So I watched the Cantonese dub of that. I think
Mhm.
was it Sailor Moon was? Yeah, I think Sailor Moon was also on Walai Toy. So I watched Sailor Moon in
No, I thought
Cantonese. I
that's
watched
wild.
I think what else? There was a lot of anime on
Mhm.
Walai Toy. More so than I think Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network.
Mhm,
And then there
mhm.
was obviously
Cartoon
Samurai
Network was
X on
there was Samurai
AXN.
X. There was around the same time as Akazuki Chacha. There was this one about this genie, and then if you sneeze, he like comes out. I don't know if you remember
Oh
this one.
yes. I
And
vaguely remember, but I just don't remember what the anime was called.
I don't remember what it was called. And then Speed Racer, I think, was also on Cartoon Network at that
Yes,
time.
Speed Racer was also on
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
it was really really cool.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think Macross, no, the English version where they meshed everything up together. Robotech. I think Robotech was airing on TV1 with like
mm,
X-Men and what's that? Thundercats. Yeah. So we
mhm,
had a
mhm,
lot of
mhm.
lot
Yeah,
of good cartoons growing up.
yeah, we did. But I guess like from a young age, was it always specifically like voice acting? It wasn't like acting specific that you were thinking about. It was like you liked the idea of like using your voice to perform and channeling like a character through your voice. Was that always the
Actually, no, I kind of wanted to be an actor. Like, I remember, like, do you remember when you're in standard 1 and standard 2, the teacher will ask you, apakah cita-cita anda bila, like, you know, when you grow up, you know, and all that.
yeah.
And they'll ask you, like, to give your top 3. I don't know, it was a big thing in the
Mhm,
90s. So everybody was like,
mhm,
oh, okay, what are my top 3 cita-cita? You know, the teacher will ask and they'll make a note of it in your report card. Or maybe my school is the
mhm.
only one that did it.
No, I had that
See,
too.
yeah. So my top 1 choice was always actor, pelakon. And then my
Mhm.
other top 2 choices, it depends on the medium that's airing. Like the year Jurassic Park came out, aku nak jadi archaeologist lah. Archaeologist. Then third one, scientist. Then next year, I think
Mhm.
Journey to the Center of the Earth came out one year. And then I was like, oh, aku, what, aku nak jadi geologist. I swear to God, it just changes, you know?
I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm really happy that you took the sophisticated route there, like the smart route when you watch those movies. Because when I was asked this, apparently, like I have no recollection of this, but my parents insist on telling the story to other people all
Mhm.
the time. But when they asked me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm pretty sure I said a dog. So like, I don't know what like anime,
Wow.
I was watching.
Uh,
That was
Or,
funny.
I think
yeah.
mine was I was inspired by the people around me. So apparently when my mom asked me what I want to be when I grow up, I said I wanted to be the cut grass man. So it's like a guy who used to come to our house and mow the lawn. I didn't know the name. I didn't know the word gardener. So it'd be like I want to be a cut grass man because the machine looks so cool.
It does look cool. Come on, it's like. Yeah, I don't know how that hasn't been institutionalized into some like
Yeah.
cool sci-fi thing yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And look at where we are now. So
Yay!
one of us here is successful.
Oh no. Or at
Yeah,
least
still not a dog.
But I think also just going back to I guess the state of like voice acting in Malaysia. So it's not that common. But then when I was on your website and listening to your show reel, especially your commercials,
Mhm.
I really recognized your voice from like DG, like those old ones on like the radio.
Yes.
Like, and it's like I think people don't think about that. Like, who are the voices besides the host of the radio
Mhm.
shows? Who are those voices that are talking to us? Especially when you're in traffic, which is a lot of the time in Malaysia, you just end up really building a bond. I think with the voices you
Yeah.
hear that come from radio.
Yeah. So actually, there is a big voice acting community in Malaysia, and they mostly do like 90% commercials and corporate videos, all the stuff that you hear on in like YouTube, lifts, IVR, which is like when you call a bank. Welcome to blah 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 bank. For English, press 1.
Oh my
Untuk bahasa Malaysia, tekan 2.
god.
Yeah, like
Oh my
that's the kind of work that we usually do, and we have our own guild. It's called the Voice Guild Malaysia. So there is quite a lot of us. I think there's like about 200 members. I mean, it sounds small
awesome.
compared to SAG, which has like 10,000 over members, but we are also like 1% of the US. So having 200 is pretty big for a country that only has like 30 million people. So we actually have like a very strong network of voice actors, and they just do a lot of commercials. Yeah. So
I know we do want to talk about like the nerdy like nerdcore stuff as well that you've done, but like my super important question is like, have you ever had a call like for example a bank and then you hear your own voice on the like
oh yeah, all the time
on the thing like
all the time
like
or sometimes I mean back then it was listening to your like on radio and you're like, hey, that's me, or watching TV, hey, that's me, but nowadays I mean times have changed. When I'm on YouTube,
right.
I'm like, oh, that's me, oh, I want to skip myself. God damn it. Yeah, so all the time I hear it all the time, but I think now it's more YouTube versus radio.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. I was telling Reno the story yesterday. I was like same thing with Steven. Like after I got to know Steven and like the voices that he does, whenever I would hear something and I would hear his voice, I'd be like, oh my god.
Oh, Steven,
like,
yeah, Steven has a
I would just like text him instantly
distinct...
and be like, did you do this?
Steven has a very distinct voice. It's very easy to pick out Steven's voice. Another guy that books a lot but is not so distinct is, I think, Azman. Azman also is really, he has a more neutral, blended voice. But Steven is just like, I know this is a Steven commercial. I can pick it out.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, that's the thing. It's like, we were talking about this as well. Like, Azman said he was in Wolong, right? As
yes.
Voices.
Yes.
Yeah, so like that range of voices, like, wow, I didn't know that like that was you. But yeah, it's really funny when you talk about like Stephen Bones' stuff. It's like, I know that's Stephen's like voice character 23 that he's done before. That's so distinct. It's like, I know
he has a very
Steven.
distinct voice. It's really easy to pick
so it's
out.
such a hilarious.
Yeah, whether he's doing commercials or whether he's doing character work, I can always pick out Stephen Bones' voice because it's very distinct. Azman, I have a little bit of an issue picking out his voice sometimes because it's what we would call a less distinct voice. It's just kind of like, it just kind of blends with a lot of other talents' voice. But, sometimes that's a strength too, because then it's not so, clients want that particular sound, and if Azman can give it, then Azman will deliver it. Yeah, versus like that Steven sound. If you don't like that Steven sound, you won't hire Steven. But fortunately, lots of clients love that Steven sound. So, yeah.
I have issues with Azman as well. I just need to put that.
Oh my god, what issues? No, okay.
We never went out for coffee. We were supposed to go out for coffee. We never.
Stood you
I can't
out.
call people out for ghosting
on
you on this podcast.
Stood you up. Don't you?
We'll clip this
I
and
love
send it
them.
to him via email. How's
Exactly. No, I love them
Yeah.
so much. The point of the 20M podcast, Reno, is to flame your friend. Like, talk about video games, talk about the people behind them, but also flame your friends on the podcast.
Awesome.
You know?
Love it.
Anyway, go on. Next question. Go.
How do you find the difference between, I guess, working for like on commercial work versus working on, I guess, like the video games and the animation and things
Oh,
like that?
it's completely different. Like first of all, I think for commercial work, at least in Malaysia, people don't necessarily want something that's like super authentic or whatever. They want something that sounds authoritative, at least in English. In Malay, it's a little bit different. In Malay, you still you like the Malay commercials sound like everyday and ordinary people if they're not doing like the announcer kind of voice. But in English, we don't really have that. Like most of the time they sound very announcery. Like real people don't really talk like that. Real people don't really like, oh, get DG for 39 ringgit a month. Who the hell says that? But they do it. That lifting thing kills me, but
Yeah.
that's the style that people like, in Malaysia, or at least that's the idea that clients have in their heads. So I think it's a little bit different in a sense, like at least in Malaysia for English, the work that we do is, I like to think it's like what people think people in authority sound like speaking English. I think that's the notion that they have in their heads. And so what you are left with is something that's very it's like, speaking at you versus speaking with you, because it comes from a place where, I guess also because English is a colonizer language, let's be frank, so there's like certain,
We've said that on the podcast.
yeah, exactly, it's a colonizer language, and so there are certain notions when people speak fluent English, like, oh yeah, they're of this upper crust, or they're like, of this socioeconomic status. So I think that's why the ads in English all kind of have like that kind of vibe going on and things like
Air
that.
to it.
Yeah, right. Because let's be frank, when we listen to English ads in Malaysia, nobody sounds like that.
We don't sound
no,
like
no,
that.
not at
Yeah.
all. Which is very different from character and animation work, where we're trying to sound like, I won't say real because, like, if you watch Nickelodeon, they're not, but they're based on something, some truth, some this. So I guess commercial work is more like an announcery, like I am trying to tell you something, and then character work is more like I'm trying to bring to life what the character is. So I think that's the biggest difference.
That's I think that's like truly such a fascinating thing that you said there, because it's like, in a nutshell, it's like playing characters or playing cartoon characters almost has there's more realness to that kind of work versus doing like a radio ad or something like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you said, it's stemming from it. So that's such a funny concept to me, right? But I do see, like you said, I do see a lot of truths in that.
Yeah, and it's only for English, because if you listen to the Malay radios and the Mandarin or Cantonese, it's absolutely not. They sound like real people, like, the machi, pachi, or that guy in the office, all those characters. In English radio, no, it's mostly just an announcer. We rarely get like those people talking to each other kind of commercials anymore.
Yeah,
We don't really get that. And even if they do, it manifests as Manglish. Like,
Yeah, it's like there's only two extremes, right? It's like one side, it's like the super hyper educated British upper crust person, or it's the this is like really, really Manglish. It's like all the la's are thrown in, all the walawe and that sort of stuff that's
yeah,
thrown in as
exactly.
well.
We don't when we haven't
Like a Pachukang kind of
yeah,
character.
we haven't really been able to crack like a middle ground, but it's okay.
I guess like when we talk about the anime voice acting, so I don't know if we caught any of that at the beginning, but we were talking about like your Cardcaptor Sakura Malayda, but you've also done some English dubs as well. Right?
Yes.
So you did Kageki Shoujo
Yes.
and Showtime.
Mhm.
How was it like working on those pieces of animation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously because it's for an American market, so I have to like be full on American with American accent and all that kind of stuff. So that's biggest difference number one, is performing with a like a pure American accent versus like a blended American. Although Ying is just full on Chinese, even in English, she's just like, so that's one. And I think the other difference is that anime has very clear archetypes versus other mediums, to speak. Like if you were to compare it to, like, let's say a triple A more grounded video game like Last of Us and stuff like that. I mean, sure, there are archetypes there too, but I think in anime in particular is that there are a lot of archetypes. And I actually took a class with a very renowned anime director. Their name is Marissa Lenti, and even they said that in order to succeed in anime, you gotta study what the archetypes are. So they're not stereotypes, but they're archetypes, because that's how anime is written in Japan. You know, these characters fulfill a specific role in the story, so you need to know what their role in the story is, number one. And number two, more often than not, that role that they fulfill in the story also dictates how they sound. And in fact, actually, I'm not sure if you know of this a Malaysian voice actress. Her name is Michelle Tan. She's like Chef Sunshine in No Straight Roads, and she's also so she's also my co-founder in the Malaysian Singapore Discord VA Discord server, and she actually took a Seiyu class in Japan before, and she told me that they study archetypes there too. In fact, actually, they really hone in on the archetypes. So I think, versus a lot of genres in voice acting, anime tends to be very archetype driven because of how it's like in Japan and how the medium is created. Even from Seiyu school, they give you like a whole list of archetypes and things like that. So if you study the archetype, you study what archetype you're good at and good with, then when you get an anime audition, you're like, oh, okay, I know this is the tsundere, this is the yandere, this is the derere, this is
all the there is.
Exactly. You see, like, everybody knows these archetypes, they're there. So it's not like a big secret or anything.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I think that's something, as like I know Arief is catching up on anime, and as I understand, you're a big anime fan, I'm a big anime fan. It's like I guess like the challenge of finding really good anime, especially as you get older with the genre. It's like this like, I'll watch like Jujutsu Kaisen and be like, this is basically Naruto, and then this guy is kind of like Ichigo from Bleach, and it's like you can kind of draw the lines between the commonalities between the characters.
You can start seeing the archetypes; they're very familiar. Like, you have the hot-headed guy. I don't remember what his archetype is called in Japanese, but you have the hot-headed guy. You've seen him everywhere. You've seen him in Ichigo. He's a bit of Naruto. He's Sakuragi Haramichi from Slam Dunk, as old as that, and then you have the clueless, naive main character who's like Luffy from One Piece, Goku, early Goku before he Super Saiyan himself, very early, like season 1 Goku, when he was very cute,
like baby Goku.
when he had like the cute tail and all that, like, that's also a different archetype. And then you have all the female archetypes. You have the strong head woman like Sakura, and then you have the I don't want to say airheaded, but she just doesn't really care about things, like Orihime. You have like these archetypes that keep coming out all the time across all genres. Yeah.
That's super interesting that they channel that into the voice acting work as well.
At least in Seiyu school. For people that I know who have attended Seiyu school, and I know quite a few people who have done that, and they said that in Seiyu school, that's kind of what they study. They study the different archetypes that exist in anime and what that sound is like for those archetypes.
Because I think the fascinating thing on my side is like, the archetypes are one thing, but it's also, people joke about like when I don't know, a character is surprised in anime,
Mm-hmm.
they like, I don't know, it's a very Japanese thing, right? But like the gasps are so large, or like
Mm-hmm.
when somebody's hesitating or whatever, it's like you make similar mannerisms. So it's like when an English VA dubs over it, right? You have to like take over those almost like Japanese type mannerisms in your performance as well.
Yeah.
So I've always found those kinds of things fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I also love that note
Oh,
of
you
like
mean like
archetypes, but yeah, exactly.
the anime breaths.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah, anime breaths.
So it's just hilarious. But I mean, like on the anime side of things, like to me, it's always so cool when you see voice actors get their first anime gig, right?
Mhm.
Like their first big anime gig is like, oh, that's awesome. It's almost as like that's the golden standard for voice acting kind of like achievements, right?
Mhm.
But I'm curious, I like has your work, like, are you looking to do more anime? Has like doing one anime opened the floodgates to doing other animes because of
Mhm.
the archetypal nature of things as well?
Right now it's a little different because I think when Crunchyroll and Funimation merged,
Mm.
now like it became Crunchyroll, and they have like a giant building in Dallas, Texas, and obviously they want to use that building. So a lot of anime, and it's driven by Crunchyroll. At least Crunchyroll dubbed anime has gone back to in studio. There's only a couple of
Mm.
there's only a couple of animes, like for example, what's the guy with the chainsaw? Oh, Chainsaw Man. Duh.
Oh, Chainsaw Man.
Duh. What's the guy with the chainsaw? Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man, where I know the leads are based, two of the leads are based in LA. Like I think Ryan Colt Levi is in LA, and Susie Jung is also in LA. Regan Murdoch, I think, is based in Texas. So yeah, so there's some allowances for that, but for the most part, most of the anime that you see dubbed by Crunchyroll is done in Texas, and it's done in studio. So, but there's a lot of satellite studios that do like not necessarily Crunchyroll anime, but like for example, NYAV does a lot of dubbing for G Kids distribution. So G Kids is a distributor in the US, and they have stuff like Young Gen, which is New Gods, which is I'm part of. So they have like the whole New Gods universe. They also, I think, distribute a couple of movies here and there. And then there's Bang Zoom in LA that's also open and remote. They just did Makoto Shinkai's Suzume. Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I want to watch the English dub, so
Let me tell you,
Oh, no,
Su-
don't.
No, we have this running joke.
The running joke is RF doesn't watch anime.
Okay.
So
No,
his opinions are
fell
not
in love.
valid.
The TLDR is I'm sick of having this conversation. We talked about it last night as well with some
Mhm.
friends and other people, but like I'm sick of having to defend my opinions of Suzume. All right,
Mhm.
I think it's a great movie and you should watch it.
Okay.
And we can continue with the podcast. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Yeah.
So Ling is like, thank you for that, RF. Let's move on.
Yay. Okay, I'm definitely gonna try that. I mean, I really I've been wanting to watch it, but I obviously want to watch like the English dub just to study my my colleagues and listen to it. So
Interesting.
it's been a bit difficult to get the English dub where I'm at. So okay, we'll just leave it at that. So I'm waiting.
I have a
Oh, sorry.
I have a take really quick that I want to share before we move on, just really quickly. Does do either of you watch English like dub anime, like on just not for like study, not for research, not for anything else, just like consumption? Because the only one that I do that I love the English dub is Spirited Away. Like I prefer the English dub.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that English
Grow-
dub.
Yeah, I just like because I grew up on that one, so when I watch the Japanese dub, it like feels a bit foreign to me, which is kind of funny because I watch like Mononoke and like Totoro all in like Japanese and stuff like that. But yeah, that one I'm
okay.
like,
So
adamant.
growing up, yes, I mean I watch whatever was on TV. So obviously Samurai X was in English, Akazukin Chacha was in English. So yeah, my anime was like all three languages: BM, Cantonese, English. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm mixed up in the
That's
head.
so funny.
And then when I moved
Mhm.
to the US, so I moved to the US when I was in my teens. Obviously there everything is pretty much in English. So I started watching things like
Mhm.
Hellsing in English, Cowboy Bebop in English, Trigun in English. So yeah, but I would
Mhm.
also watch a lot of things in Japanese. So it was like 50-50. And then when I moved
Mhm.
back to Malaysia, obviously English dubs are non-existent in like the late millennium or like 2010 onwards. No one we didn't even have English dubs on TV anymore from 2010 onwards. Then I completely stopped watching Japanese anime in English. So like I didn't watch Madoka in English, which apparently I heard the English dub was amazing. I didn't watch what's what's that Kill
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 Kill.
also
Yeah.
apparently had a really good English dub. I didn't watch that in English.
Mhm.
Like all the 2010 to current anime, didn't watch it in
Mhm.
English because wasn't available in Malaysia, wasn't really popular in
Mhm.
Malaysia, so I just watched it in Japanese. All the Gundams. So
Oh,
um
goodness.
but growing up, I did. I mean, it's more like an accessibility thing.
Mhm.
Like, oh, it's on TV. Okay, I'll watch it in English. Or when I
Totally.
was in the US, oh, my friends have the VHS. Okay, let's watch it in English.
Mhm.
So yeah, but obviously now as a working voice actor, I mean, one of the biggest things, at least one of my biggest tenets for voice acting is that if you want to be a voice actor, you gotta hella study the medium. So if you want to be an anime voice actor, you have to study English dubs. You want to be a voice actor in video games, you better as hell play those video games. Or if you are not good at playing video games, I'm not in specific genres, you gotta hella watch those cutscenes in YouTube or watch people play through them so you have an idea of what your role is in that medium and what you're supposed to do. We can talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, so now I completely only watch anime in English right now.
I think that's so interesting because, like, obviously, when I was growing up, especially with the anime community, which is like, love the community, but people can be really toxic and really gatekeepery.
Yeah.
So there's always this like mindset of like, oh, you must watch the
Original,
original
yes,
language and all.
yes.
Even though like 99% of these people saying this don't even speak Japanese or understand
Yes,
Japanese, so they still rely on the subs, right?
exactly.
But now I think, especially with games like Genshin, and then we're going to talk about Star Rail as well, where the quality is so high. I think people are starting to really revere and respect, and almost like idolize a lot of like English speaking voice actors, almost to like celebrity status. So like like when I would stream Genshin, I would stream sometimes in Japanese, sometimes in English, the game, and I would get this like person coming in being like, man, like I can't believe you're playing English dub. And I would just be like, hey, it's actually a Chinese game. So if you want to talk about like source language, I should probably play it in Chinese.
Yeah,
It's just like
exactly.
they just think like, oh, it's anime. It must be in Japanese. That's the only proper
Yeah.
way to experience it. But there are so many good voices in Genshin that I love so much in English. That's why I really enjoy playing it with the English.
Yeah, it's funny when you touch upon that because like I've had a lot, I'm not going to mention names, but I've had a lot of local people, at least Southeast Asians, come up to me and say, "Hey, how do you become an anime? I want to dub anime." La 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 la. And the first question I always ask is, "Do you watch anime in English?" "No, I've never watched anime in English." And I'm like, okay. How do you even it just astounds me.
Yeah.
It just really astounds me. And they have this notion that because they watch it exclusively in Japanese, that somehow they're going to be superior than in English, which I have no idea why, but it's yeah, so you're absolutely right. Among Southeast Asians, it is a very common thing, like it's a very common notion that English dubs are not that good, and so because I watch it in Japanese, I can do a better job. I'm like,
Right.
it doesn't really work that way,
Doesn't
but
work like that.
whatever rocks your boat.
Can we quickly touch on some of your favorite games as well?
Ooh,
Because let me tell
okay.
you, I was watching a good old interview. I don't know why I said good old interview. It came out last week for us, but like I was watching the IGN interview with friend of the show Dale, and one of the games that you mentioned is like some of the early games that you were playing is a tiny game called Final Fantasy VIII,
Yes.
and I'm not gonna say that I'm the biggest Final Fantasy VIII fan,
Mhm.
but I'm definitely not. I'm just
Yeah.
I've never played
He
Final
hates
Fantasy
it.
VIII. It's
He
almost a
absolutely
joke, but
hates it.
Reno is a huge Final Fantasy VIII fan.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to slowly transition this podcast into why should I play Final Fantasy VIII?
Oh
Like why is
my
this game so
God.
good?
Okay.
Because I have two people on here
Okay.
that I feel like I'm
Okay,
terrified
I
of their
have
takes.
not played disclaimer. I have not played Final Fantasy VIII in a really long time, but I played it in 1998 when it first came out. I played it after playing Final Fantasy VII, and I liked Final Fantasy VIII a lot more than I like Final Fantasy VII.
Blasphemy.
I know.
Oh my
Even
God.
though Final Fantasy, I was
Unbelievable.
crazy about Final Fantasy VII. Like, okay, I will give you a big tidbit of how crazy I was. And bear in mind, this is 1997 when it first came out. I got the Knights of the Round materia.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's such
and
dedication.
I beat the is it Bahamut? The two monsters that are in the sea
Mhm.
using Knights of the Round.
Right.
Yeah, because
Yep.
that's the only way to beat
Ni-
them. I think it was Bahamut. I don't know. There's like two hidden monsters that are located underground, and they're only beatable if you have Knights of the Round. So that's so much so when I faced Sephiroth, I was like, this is like really easy.
This is it.
Is
I'm
this-
too good
is
for
this
this game,
it?
right? Like,
I bred chocobos for like
Yes.
3 months. This is nothing.
Yes, I bred Choco. Exactly, you know what goes into getting Knights of the Round materia, and I wanted Knights of the Round materia to kill those baddies. But anyway, so I spent a lot of time in Final Fantasy VII, and then when Final Fantasy VIII came out, I was like, "Whoa!" First of all, the graphics are so much more improved. You know, it's not like a spiky head and whatever. I mean, Final Fantasy VII was already
and the
kind
Popeye arms.
and Popeye arms and cartoony. Like everyone looked really realistic, you know? Like even in 1998, it was just amazing. The difference between 7 in terms of a look and the difference between 8 was just like crazy. And obviously Squall. Squall's
Oh my god!
You know,
I don't
You're my
get it.
favorite
I'm
person. My
sorry,
absolute
you
favorite
know,
person.
I was like
Arief, you can leave
Squall,
now.
and then Rinoa was so pretty, and I tried to have Rinoa hair in the 90s. I
Oh
literally
my-
bought, like, you know, in the Pasar Malam, they have all these like posters. So I bought a Rinoa
Yeah.
poster. I brought it to the hairdresser, and I said, I want this hair.
Like, can you cut my hair?
Can you
like
cut this? Can you cut
God,
my hair like this?
you both are the same person.
Every
man.
Asian girl in the 90s had
Dude,
that,
yeah,
that
exactly.
I want to be Renoir
I want to
moment.
be Renoir moment. Yeah, it's completely true. So I had like my hair long and like, yeah, just exactly like Renoir. You know, I named my dog Angelo. Is it Angelo? Yes. I named
Yes, Angelo.
yes, see, I named my dog Angelo for a while, and so I think why it became my favorite Final Fantasy is because the story is very engaging. It was very interesting, and also the graphics at that time. So I have a lot of nostalgia feelings about it. I haven't played it in years, so I don't know how it stacks up now. But you know, at that time, it was such a romantic thing. Squall was like, you know, has to save Renoa, and you're like, oh, and especially like remember when she was lost in space in the spacesuit, and you thought she was gonna
Yeah.
die, and no, Squall
Squall
saves
comes
her.
out.
It's like,
Yeah.
wow, okay,
Space romance. right there.
exactly. Yeah, and I really like it. It was nice, and Renoa was spunky. She wasn't like. Yeah, I mean, fine.
She wasn't just a princess. She fought for her.
True.
She was part of a resistance group.
Exactly.
So I think she had a balance of being girly, but also like trying to take charge.
Yeah,
which I thought was
exactly. So you know, Squall needed to respect her all the time, even though he was just like,
Yes.
I don't even know why we like Squall. He's got red flags all over him,
cool. He does.
right? Like if you think about it, when you're older, you're like, dude, Squall as a love interest just has a lot of red flags.
But what Final Fantasy male protagonist does not have red flags?
That is
Like,
true. That is very, 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 very true. No, wait,
we love
Final Fantasy
him.
9. He is wholesome.
Oh no, I love that you
he-
brought this up, Su Ling, because I've had this huge thing on my
Mhm.
chest that I've needed to get off for the past.
Sakura.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sakura. I need to get Sakura off my chest. I've said this before in a couple other instances. I don't remember if we've shared it on the podcast before. I hate Zidane from Final Fantasy.
Why?
I think Zidane is the worst Final Fantasy protagonist.
I only have
I think he's
one-
misogynistic. I think all he wants to do is bang
Garnet?
What's her name?
Garnet.
Garnet.
Yeah, Princess Garnet, and like he's everything he does. He's such a like buffoon in a way that is just
Oh my
like,
god,
why are you doing
did we
this to
play the same
yourself,
game?
man?
Because okay, again,
I
I've
hate
not
it.
played Final Fantasy
Vivi is my
9
main
in like
character.
years, and all I remember was that this guy is very unmemorable. That's all I remembered. So because he's so unmemorable compared to the rest of the Final Fantasy leads, I don't have a strong opinion about him, and therefore it defaults to like, oh, okay,
He's good.
he's good.
If he's forgettable,
Yeah, he's
then he must be
forgettable. I'm
good.
probably forgetting a lot of things. I mean, compared to like Cloud and actually, you know what? Who is in terms of wholesome Final Fantasy male characters? It would actually be Final Fantasy 4. What's his name?
Oh, I haven't done 4.
I can't remember. I don't remember the name.
He turned into a paladin. He was a dark. I mean, dude, his story is he used to be a dark knight and then he became a paladin. I love Final Fantasy 4 for the record. What's his name? Yeah, no, he's really
Cecil.
Cecil. Yes, that's right. Cecil. Yes,
Cecil.
yes. Dark Knight became so he's quite wholesome. He's quite good. You know, the way he treats Terra and no, that's Final Fantasy 6. I think it's Rydia. See, I'm mixing. I played all the Final Fantasies. I played
No, but like it's the same. Everything just blends into one.
Yeah,
and like every game has a Cid. Almost every game has a Riku. It's like they're all there.
Yeah,
I
played
just amalgamate into like
4.
one character.
I've played 5. I've played 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not 11.
Please say.
Oh wait, 11.
Please
Yeah,
say the magic number.
11. No, 10 is Yuna.
Like,
11
is
is
5. He's like,
what is 11?
Wait,
11 was a
online.
MMO.
11
Yeah.
is
So I didn't
online.
play at
Yeah.
11. And 12, obviously, Ash and everything. I did not play 15, which is funny. I did.
Oh my god, you skipped over 13.
Oh, 13.
Where was 13?
Wait. No, wait. Final Fantasy
and 14, the other MMO.
Wait. Final Fantasy 13 is which one?
Lightning.
Oh no, I played that. I didn't
Thank
play.
goodness.
I didn't play the boy band where they go on a
Yeah,
the
road
boy
trip
band,
thing.
the boys
the
road
boy
trip.
the boy band road trip. I didn't play that, but I played Lightning. Yeah, but I don't know, from 12 onwards.
Stop right there. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know.
We're moving on.
I don't remember much, to be honest.
With no 13 flaming on this.
No,
podcast.
it's
That's
not
my
flaming.
veto.
It's just that I don't remember. Maybe because at that time it was a really busy part of my life, so I just don't remember. Versus like
Good
when
save,
you're
Su Ling. I appreciate it.
younger.
Good.
Like I played 12 when I was still in college. Wait, is it? No, I
Yeah.
couldn't have been. I was too old. Wait, when did I play 12? When did 12 come out?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
only-
played
started
it when
at
I was
12,
in
like-
college. Yeah, 2006. Yes, absolutely. So, you know,
Yeah.
in your college days, you don't really have a lot of things to do sometimes. So I completely remember it. But 13 Lightning, I remember playing it when I first started working in advertising. And so obviously that probably colored my experience because half the time I'm like, work.
Tired from work.
I'm tired
you're
from
like, I
work,
don't have
and
time
it's
for
just like,
this.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so this part of the interview I really want to get into. So you are a national level jiu-jitsu champion.
Not anymore. I'm retired
Right.
now.
But it's so awesome that you've got such like a varied sort of like varied interests, varied careers. And I don't do BJJ, but I do Muay Thai.
Oh,
and I think
yay.
you've also got some Muay Thai experience. Yeah.
Yes. Because
Yeah. And like
oh, sorry. Because as you know,
you-
most Muay Thai gyms also have a BJJ program. Yeah.
yeah. And I think as well, like at least from what I understand, most of my friends who start with Muay Thai, they end up transitioning
Yes,
into jiu-jitsu because
exactly.
there's only so many punches to the face you can take before you're like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I just want to grapple. I just want to roll around.
yeah.
hmm How has martial arts, at least what I've found with exploring martial arts, like I know like games are not realistic depictions of martial arts, but I
Hardly.
feel like I can appreciate
No.
Tekken more from having a martial arts background. I don't know, it just feels really like vibrant.
Okay.
So I don't know if like you have a similar experience, or do you play fighting games? Do you
I
enjoy them?
play fighting games. I'm really bad at it. So that's the one that I have to watch YouTubers or streamers play. Mhm.
What are some of your favorite fighting games?
In terms of design and story, I mean, I grew up playing Street Fighter 2 on the Sega. I think it's a Sega. Yeah, the Sega, the cartridge. Yeah, so I played that. That was probably the only fighting game I played. But I like Tekken in terms of the characters. They're interesting. And obviously I like the new Street Fighters. They have interesting characters. I mean, it's a nostalgic thing. you grew up with Street Fighter 2, you played it your whole life, you know all the characters, and you're like, oh, you're interested to see. But I don't really personally play a lot of fighting games. Really bad at it.
I think the nostalgia is a big thing. So like I grew up with Tekken. I feel like people grow up with one or the other, like Tekken or Street Fighter. So I grew up with Tekken. I'm not particularly good either, but it's just been in my life for so long. And then yesterday Arief and I were on a call and I was trying to pull up a YouTube video. And then I just saw that like the Hwarang trailer for Tekken 8 just came out yesterday. So I was like, I don't care what we're talking about. We're gonna watch this right now. So share a screen with Arief, and I started crying.
Like, jokes aside, like I didn't know what was happening. I was like, oh, like Reno's gonna show a video that we're talking about or whatever. It pulls up YouTube, finds the trailer, and it's like, well, I guess we're watching the trailer to this character announcement, and then like proceeds to like pretty much cry, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I wasn't aware how important this character was.
I mean, that's how I felt with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, I like Final Fantasy VIII. I guess is like my favorite, but Final Fantasy VII is a very, very close runner-up. I mean, it has to be. You spend months breeding chocobos for Knights of the Round materia, So when I first saw the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was like, oh, Tifa and Aerith look so pretty. Oh, who cares about Cloud? No one cares about Cloud.
I like the Cloud mods where they got him to wear the dress
for
the entirety of the game. That was so good.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess a couple of other things we want to touch upon. Like, do we want to get into the Star Rail? Are we?
I think we can do Star Rail. Yeah, I mean,
Star Rail.
Because I'm just really happy. Like at the end of the day, I'm just like super happy because like you both fight. And then you both love Final Fantasy VIII, so I was like, "What a great podcast opportunity," But I think we should do Star Rail. I just want to maybe the starting question is on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are we all in love with Honkai Star Rail right now?
10, and I'm not saying it because I'm in it. I'm saying it genuinely as a player because so for me, my gaming background is that since the late 2000s and 2010, I completely transitioned to console. I do not play PC games anymore because I think PC games just remind me of work too much. I'm either delivering voice work or I'm doing decks for commercials. I'm like, I want to get away from my laptop. I want to get away from my PC. So it's just exclusively either console and then now tablet for mobile games. So I play a lot of console and mobile games. Funnily enough, I do not play Genshin. I tried to play Genshin, but I played it on my console for a while, and that worked fine. But the minute I transitioned to a tablet, even with my PS4 controller hooked up to my tablet, it is just it's just not a very nice experience on mobile. It's very difficult. I find that it's very, 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 very difficult to move around, to fight in mobile versus other games. Like I love Cookie Run Kingdom. I love Path to Nowhere. I like, so those are the games that I'm playing regularly at the moment. And now Honkai Star Rail has completely taken over all of them. It's a very easy game to play on mobile, which is why I love it.
Yeah, because it's strategy oriented. You're not getting sweaty trying to like, I wanted to hit jump. No, not that button. Because like that's what happens with Genshin, right? Because your thumbs are like covering a bunch of different buttons at the same time.
I can't do Genshin. And the kind of games that I play on mobile are just really exclusively like, I had to play Arknights too. Or I did. And Fire Emblem, like for a while. And then, and then I just kind of went out of these games. But the thing that they have in common is that they're all really easy. Like they have an auto battle system. They're very easy in terms of gameplay for mobile. You can just click. It's not very intensive. So you're right. And that's why it's my favorite. It takes the best parts of Genshin, which is the story, the voice acting, the lore, the exploration. And then they put like all the mobile games, like the fighting things. Like you can auto battle 2 times at 2 times speed. I'm like, yes, finally. You can't do that in Genshin. You're like, I have to fight every freaking thing. No, I got no time for this.
Yeah, I mean, like the previous episode before this is our Honkai Star Rail kind of like recap review. So if y'all listen to this podcast and you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out.
Mhm.
Reno and I go a pretty deep dive into Star Rail because, like, I guess the long story short is that we both genuinely love the game. I come from a background where it's like I don't really play Genshin either, but completely fell in love with it. But it's just so natural. I mean, we were talking about Final Fantasy, right? Like, this is very much a turn-based JRPG type of game as well, but made in the modern day. So there's no, it's no wonder why people of our background in the games, like the games that we play, really love.
Oh,
this
and I
game.
love Persona 5. I gotta just put that in there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so
Love
Persona. It is so
Yeah.
Persona. Like, they literally took a lot of beats, and I think June as well, he's like so adamant and saying, yeah, the music cues are so Persona as well.
Yeah.
So there's so much beauty in this game, but like it's just so crazy that you were able to voice a character of a game of this magnitude. I mean, like, what are the stats? Like, how many millions of downloads in the first like 48 hours or something?
Yeah.
Pre-registration as well. Like, this is a monster of a game that I can assume is only going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I just like, has that kind of like hit you? Because I know specifically to your performance, like with Bailu, like it's pretty awesome, like properly good character in the game as well. Has the magnitude of Star Rail hit you? Because I also just want to reference, like, there was a whole fan event that happened over here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia as well, that I believe you were at.
Yes,
like,
I was
I don't know, it just
invited
seems like
as a
there's
guest.
so much magnitude.
So far, yes. I think when Star Rail first got released, I had a bunch of followers on my Twitter. Not as much as Genshin. Like, when people announce on Genshin, they literally get like 10K followers. Like, they hit 10K followers
They
like
blow up.
overnight. So no, it hasn't really gone to that level yet, but definitely like the fandom for Star Rail is definitely increasing, because personally I see a lot of my friends playing Honkai Star Rail a lot of times, and they're just like talking about it and stuff like that. So it's hit me from that perspective. I also got invited to a bunch of conventions in the region, so depending on my time, because I don't have a lot of time, so I just have to pick and choose which one I can attend, and what makes sense for me. So so that's happened, and a brand reached out to collaborate something with me. So I'm like,
That's awesome.
yeah. So it's gotten there.
It's like, we want to work with Bailu. We don't want to work with Su.
Yeah, completely, exactly. Like, oh, you're in Honkai Star Rail. Okay, we want to work with you, like that kind of thing. So it's not. I don't think it's as big as Genshin, like the reception for Genshin voice actors yet, but it's definitely getting there. So I think it's a good build though, because like, if you like just too fast, it just kind of gets crazy. So I'm glad there is a trend, that there seems to be some kind of a transition, at least from my end. I mean, yeah, sure, after the IGN interview went out, there were a lot of like guests, invites, as well as brand collaborations. So I really got to thank the folks at IGN for doing that. But yeah, it's not as crazy as like being on Genshin, for example. Not yet.
So I did want to ask this kind of question. It might kind of touch on a bit of a darker topic. So we talked about how voice actors have now, really exploded. You guys are kind of like celebrities in your own right. The fans really love. I think they almost see the voice actor as an extension of the character. So if they really like Bailu, they're like, oh, Su Ling is Bailu. We want to get to know her. And I think that's just how the fandom kind of grows. But like a couple, I guess you might have seen maybe 3 or 4 months back, there was quite a bit of controversy around.
I know
like,
which one you're talking about.
Actor.
You're talking about Elliot Gindi, right?
Yeah, and that was terrible to see how that happened. But it was also really inspiring when all the voice actors came out to condemn his actions. And then Chris, I can't pronounce his last name, Terliafera. I think he's the voice of who's he the voice of in Genshin? He's the voice of Gundam Tanaka in Danganronpa. That much I know, but he's also in Genshin. I can't remember.
One of the Fatui?
Yes, he's not. He's unreleased. He's unreleased. Yeah, he's El Capitano.
Yes,
I think.
he is in the Fatui. Yeah. He's in the Fatui short.
Yeah. So he made a really amazing TikTok that is so good for, I think, the younger demographic who does play Genshin. And he talks about like, oh, the best places to meet voice actors are at conventions, in front of people. It's very public. If you want to share photos of yourself with your favorite voice actor, please like link it publicly, like try to make it as public as possible, so that you don't have these like private conversations behind closed doors and all that. But like, I guess what I'm I'm trying to get like, do you feel sort of like do you feel like you're a role model to the younger demographic? Do you feel like there's sort of a certain level of responsibility now that voice
I
actors
don't
have?
know about role model yet, but I don't know. I don't know about that, but definitely, since I knew Honkai Star, I know I was in Honkai Star Rail, so I became a little bit. Actually, no, not. Yeah, I really watch what I say and what I do on my public Twitter. Not that I've never done that before. I just now have to like really, really think about things. There's some things that I'm not willing to compromise, and people can just take it as they are, like LGBT issues. I'm always like, I'm for pro-choice. Like those kind of things are uncompromisable to me. So those things are gonna stay. But there are some things that are like, oh, okay. There are other things that, okay, you got to be really careful about what you interact with and how you interact with fans. I used to have my DMs open to everybody. Obviously, that quickly changed. Close
Yeah.
DMs. Only followers. That kind of thing. And I'm really, really careful about how I interact and talk to people, because like, you never know how your interaction with them could affect them. And that has always weighed very heavily on my shoulders. Like for example, I get really hangry all the time. And I always remember, and I feel really bad. I should probably circle back to this staffer one day and probably apologize. But there was an event that I had to do for another game where I had to make an appearance. And I made an appearance, and it was taking very long. And I don't know why for that day I didn't eat, or they didn't feed me. Actually, no, yeah, they didn't feed me. So I got really hangry. And I was thirsty, and I was hungry, and I blew up at a staffer because the event was taking a long time and it was very delayed and everything. And I always wonder, I was like, oh, I feel really bad about it. And then it's funny that particular publication has never called me back. So I'm like thinking, yeah, okay. So it always remind me of that incident. But here's the rule of thumb: if you ever invite me to a convention as a guest, please feed me. Because
Feed-
then I
Feed
turn,
your-
I
feed your
really,
That's
talents.
101.
I turn into a
Yeah.
gremlin, like legit. I think they didn't feed me because you're not allowed to eat in the hall, and I think they weren't very clear when I was supposed to appear, so they just wanted me to
Mm-mm.
stay there the whole time, and then that's what I did, and then I just got really hangry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's like
but I think
101
that
working with
takes.
Malaysians. Like we just get hangry.
We
all
are.
over
We
the
just
place.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But I think there's a lot of like there is. I think we could admire a little bit of like the humility in that scenario, or it's like, hey, like I messed up, but like and I was in a certain place, and yeah, these were the circumstances, and I like want to apologize for that kind of stuff. I think that humility is kind of like admirable, because I feel like there are people who just like like screw everybody, screw everything else. You know what I mean? But so I think I appreciate that. But I mean, there is some like fascinating nuance, right, with voice actors and talents and all that kind of stuff, whether you do like the in-person cons or events that you have to do as well. But I think another aspect of it in this voice acting world that I'm a lot less familiar with is like almost the camaraderie with other voice actors that Rita was kind of mentioning
Oh
earlier.
yeah, completely.
Like they're so beautiful to see, like it almost seems like, let alone the role model aspect of like maybe younger people or up and coming voice actors as well that want to join that community. It's almost as like if you're part of the voice acting community, and maybe this is the reason why a lot of people want to become a voice actor as well, is because like there's so much two-way respect, where it's like if you're a voice actor, it almost seems like it is a familial kind of like aspect where everybody kind of knows each other, everybody's kind of like supporting each other's projects for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you mentioned about that in Malaysia, but like I guess the Hoyoverse voice actor community is also another beast within itself. Like, are you close with the other voice actors as well?
Yes,
Honkai
I
Star
am.
Rail?
So, in full disclosure, we actually have our own Discord server for the English voice actors.
Oh, that's so cute.
I think this is very common for a lot of big projects. I'm sure the Genshin voice actors also have their own Discord server. So, we're quite active there, some more than most. And then we're always talking, posting memes, talking like about the game, screaming about spoilers. Like when Jing Yuan's trailer came out, everybody was screaming for Alejandro in the chat. I was like, get out of here, it's so good.
So good. He has such range.
I know. I
as
was
well.
screaming.
Like,
I was
from
one of the
Sino to Jingyuan.
screaming people, and I was like, this is so good, Alejandro. What the F? It was so good. And then he gets a character trailer shortly the day after. So he gets an anime trailer and a character trailer. So we're quite close from that respect. But I think because the cast is so big, if I had to say like people that I'm really close to, I think it's more of the people where like who are in the same boat as me, you know, where Honkai Star Rail really elevated our careers. So I'm very close to Molly Sang. I'm really close to who voices Zila. I'm really close to Nicholas Leong, who voices Dan Heng.
Danheng,
I'm also close to Caleb Yen, who is the male MC.
male MC.
Emily's son, who voices Clara. So we're very close to each other because we like, you know, I mean, we're at very similar paths in our career, and Honkai Star Rail literally blew up our like voice acting careers. And so, you know, we discuss a lot of things, mostly just a lot of shit talk. And I think it's very obvious in our Twitter because we're like sniping each other on Twitter all the time. I'm like, Nicholas, Molly, Caleb, like, you know, we're just like doing. No one can do anything to Emily. Emily is just too precious, so no sniping from me. It's just awesome love for Emily all the time on Twitter. So you know, I think it's important that we have this like community, you know, to deal with all this kind of stuff. You know,
there's so much beauty in that because like at the end of the day, like I think what I find most beautiful about like the Hoyoverse games as well is like community. And I know again with any fandom there is a lot of toxicity, there's a lot of negative aspects, but like the player community. But then what's also beautiful is like with Genshin, the voice actor community, and now it also seems replicated with Star Rail. So it's just so genuinely just good to hear that there is that kind of camaraderie with the Star Rail
you know,
voice
I
actors
think
as well. So
it's not alien to a lot of voice acting communities. So before I booked Star Rail, I was part of another voice acting community. Actually, this voice acting community is led by Devin Mack and Xander Mobus, the two of them, who I've mentioned before in articles and interviews, who are my mentors and things like that. They have like their own community, you know, and through a friend, I was able to get in, and these like crazy established voice actors are there. So it's a huge mix of like up and coming people, totally new people, and established people in that group, in that community. And they were so kind, and they took me under their wing. And I don't think, honestly, I would have been able to book Honkai Star Rail had I not been part of that community. And so they helped improve my skills. You know, we do a lot of shop talk, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the concept of a voice acting community is not very alien at all. And I think it's because voice actors get a lot of rejection. So most times, sometimes we have these community sessions and then we're just like, whoa. Like Roger Craig Smith said that he had a booking rate of less than 10%. And that is industry.
Wow. Shut the front door.
That is industry average. Like your booking rate is like 8%, 10%. If you're really lucky, like maybe 12. But yeah, you do a lot more auditions than you ever book.
That's so crazy because like I think you know my favorite performance of his, the one that hits home for me, is like Mirage and Apex as well.
Yeah,
right? So it's just like such phenomenal like world star talent voice acting, but still the industry is like
that. He tweeted about it, and he said that even for someone like his caliber, his booking rate is still less than 10%. So that means for every 100 auditions you do, you book 9 or book 10.
Yeah. That's crazy. Out of the Star Rail like voice acting community, who would you say is the most like their Star Rail character?
That's so funny. Like,
you know what? I would say a lot of them. Like everybody has like a part of them inside their character. for example, Molly is like super strong-headed, and she's very she's no nonsense, and she's and her drive and determination, like exactly like Zila, is completely Molly, you know. She's not making that part of her up. It really is in Zila, and it is in Molly, and I see it all the time, you know. Caleb is just funny. He is just as unhinged as the main character. It wouldn't it, like he okay, so it's really funny, and he posts about this all the time on Twitter. He can't cook for nuts. And he has like this cooking experiments that are just like as unhinged. So if the main character in Honkai Star Rail decided to cook, he'd cook exactly like Caleb. For sure.
So funny.
Unhinged. Like there are things that you're not supposed to mess up. Caleb does that. That's Caleb's reputation when cooking. I think right now he is just purposely doing these things. I don't think anyone can cook that.
Yeah, it's for the bit.
I think right now at this point, I can't remember the last cooking experiment he did, but I remember reacting to it, and I gave the little girl like. that little girl.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That child, and I was like, wow, Caleb. Okay, so yes, Caleb is as unhinged as his main character. So I think for a lot of the Star Rail, okay, I mean, I can only talk about the people that I'm really close to. Like Emily is so sweet. She's really, really sweet in real life. Like seriously, it's like, you want to help me, Mr. Starrock? Okay, help you. You know, it's like completely
just
like that.
Immediate hug.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and like okay, maybe Nicholas is very different from Danhong, but there's parts of him that is there. You know, like he's very smart. Very he like studies a lot and stuff like that. So there's part of him in there. And no need to say about Bailu, I'm pretty snarky. And I like food. So those are the two things that I relate to. Yeah, I'm pretty snarky.
Yeah, I also know you're 2'3" in real life as well.
Oh, I'm Kanchil size.
Yeah.
I think what I like about Star Rail is with the voice acting, there doesn't seem to be a strong inclination of like a specific accent either way. Like every character seems to kind of have their own accent. I don't know if that's just my untrained ear, but like for example with Dan Heng, he kind of does to me sound like what an
Asian-y,
like a person from Asian-y, yeah, exactly, but like not any specific region, but it sounds like like an Asian character, which is great because Nicholas is Asian, and Dan Heng is Asian as well.
Yes.
So I think that's super, super interesting. Do you feel like, I guess as more of these sort of games that come from Asia become more popular, and then like hopefully with Southeast Asia as well, we're getting more games, do you think there'll be less of a need to incorporate American accents all the time, and then we can kind of celebrate that English is spoken through a variety of different accents?
Ooh, I don't know about that for now. I think even if we wanted to incorporate like accents, it would probably be closer to like the Danheng accent versus like an actual accent, like an actual authentic regional accent, for a game like Star Rail and Genshin. But however, I am seeing like a diversity, more diverse accents for other genre of video games, AAA especially. Like for example, Valorant. Agent Neon is voiced by a voice actress in Manila. So she has a Manila accent. She doesn't have, which is funny because I'm quite close to her. Her name is Vanille Velasquez.
Yep.
And she was saying that a lot of people like that are not in the Philippines are saying like, oh, she doesn't sound Filipino at all. And she's like, you guys don't live here. You know, it's like I guess the equivalent is somebody saying you don't sound Malaysian when you don't put a Phua Chu Kang accent or whatever. You're not in Manglish or Singlish.
Exactly.
And then all the Malaysians are like, but actually, but actually,
Yeah.
we don't say,
Actually.
but actually, no, not all of us sound like that. I mean, we acknowledge,
Mhm.
obviously, there are some people who do sound like that. And, most of the time, like, yeah, there are some Malaysians, but there are also Malaysians who don't,
Mhm.
and they, yeah.
Mhm.
So likewise with, Vanille, she has a very typical Manila accent, and that fits the character
Mhm.
because if I understand correctly, Neon was born and raised in Manila, and so therefore she has a very neutral English accent with hints of it coming out, which is how she speaks in real life. Like what we're talking right now in terms of a Malaysian accent.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know whether games like Genshin or Honkai Star Rail or what's the copycat Tower of Fantasy,
Tower
yeah,
Fantasy.
Tower
Tower
of
of Fantasy.
Fantasy, Path to Nowhere, Cookie Run Kingdom. I don't know whether they're ever gonna get to that level of authenticity. But
Mhm.
definitely I think they're exploring. Yeah, for sure. I think you would look
Mhm.
at the
Mhm.
AAA games more. I think that's where
Mhm.
Mhm.
they're really looking for really specific accents for sure.
I think like there's so much I find it so fascinating because I think Overwatch is the other comparable that I always use of like eclectic accents as well.
Yes,
So
exactly.
AAA games like that have a world
Correct.
kind of cast
Yeah.
as well.
Although
You
they
can
messed
kind
up
of
on
use
Echo,
it
so I'm
in
just
the
like,
game. Yeah,
like,
yeah. No
not
Singaporean accent.
only do you not sound Singaporean, you sound like the colonizer that colonized Singapore.
Oh
Right,
my
right. Stick it to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think it's like to your point, I do want to give like flowers are due, right? Because I think in my years covering like my years, it's been like 3 years. In the past like couple of years covering the Southeast Asian game
Mm-hmm.
space, there was a lot of gusto when No Straight Roads came out because of the fact that you did a partial Malaysian accent for Mayday
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
And then I think it's like, but then I think you nailed it with when Vanille kind of like announced that of her involvement in for
Mm-hmm.
Neon, right? It's like these are two, I think, two huge video game characters that kind of highlight and showcase Southeast Asia. So I think for
Mhm.
me, I think there is moment like we should pause and celebrate as well. Characters like Mayday and characters like Neon because it does showcase a lot of that authenticity in the gaming world or the entertainment world of what a Southeast Asian accent can be.
Yeah,
So I just want to like also
absolutely.
allocate like maybe just a little bit of time to just say like that's flipping awesome and it's so
Mhm.
cool,
Yeah.
Suling, that you are also part of that
Yeah.
movement,
Oh,
if you will, where it's like I know
yeah.
you that's not the only accent you do, right? But
Yeah.
it's like you're really paving the way for that kind
And
of
I
thing
have
moving
to add
forward.
one more game, Chinatown Detective Agency.
Chinatown Detective Agency.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody sounds like they're from Singapore or Malaysian because
Yep.
sometimes we have
100%.
Malaysians and Singaporeans where the accent is very similar. But yeah,
Mhm.
Chinatown Detective Agency, mixed cast of Malaysians and Singaporeans. Fantastic. Hmm.
Yeah. No, that was another one that we noted down as well.
Mhm.
Just again, you bring the authenticity in the story where it's due, right?
Hmm.
But also at the same time, you hire the people that have those accents in the first place, or can properly speak
Yeah,
on those accents, or like are from the region.
exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
I'm really looking forward to more games, and whether it be other properties in animation or whatever have you, just more authentic accents that, like Reno said, maybe aren't as cookie cutter, kind of like accents that kind of like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know, like the normal
I
American accent
think
the entire
I think
time.
what it comes down to is that there's just not as much exposure to the rest of the world, like what we are like as a country in Malaysia and part of Southeast Asia. And what ends up happening is they only hear the caricatures, like your Uncle Roger. Like
Yeah.
that's what
Oh, I keep getting Uncle
Chinese people sound
Roger
like.
right now, but thank God we have Michelle Yeoh.
Yes,
Yeah.
Even though people can't tell,
God.
they think it's
exactly.
a Chinese accent. We're like, no, anyone from Melsing listens to
No.
Michelle Yeoh, they're
Yeah.
like, dude, she's Melsing. She's Melsing. No way. No, not confirm, not honky
Exactly.
accent.
Confirm,
Hmm.
confirm.
But yeah, exactly. I think yeah. So hopefully, as more of these roles come out, as people like you get more opportunities, and they'll start to hear that we not only speak English in Malaysia, but we speak it in a way that you can comprehend. It's not all just like la ya.
Yeah, you know,
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, of course. But it's
exactly.
just
You know, so
proper
for
representation.
me personally, I usually, if the character calls for it or if the character's background allows for it, I will always submit 2 takes. I will always submit one with my general American accent or my British accent or whatever accent they're looking for in the audition sides, and a second take with a Malaysian accent. For sure, 100%, all the time.
Oh, super interesting.
And I do that well, unless the audition is like 3 minutes and I'm like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
okay, I need to have energy to do it once, then I'll just give them in whatever accent that they specify in the sides, or if they specify a very specific accent, like, oh, general American, like only general American, then I'm like, okay, then there's no point submitting a second take. But if they're open to different accents and stuff like that, then I always submit a take with the Malaysian accent. And you'd be surprised. It's more in indie games, but you'd be surprised how many people are open to the idea of a Malaysian accent when they hear it. They didn't know they wanted it, but then when I present it to them, they're like, hey, like that's what happened in Ghost Song, actually. This game that I voice, where it's a Metroidvania style game, Ghost Song. It's been in development for like 10 years. So when it released, a lot of people were like, yay, it's finally out. But the character that I auditioned for was originally a mentor-like character, and then they said we don't have any specific accents in mind, but it would be interesting to explore an accent for this character. And usually when they say that, and I spoke to the developer, he actually told me honestly, like, yeah, I was thinking of a British accent, to be honest, in my head, but then your audition came about, and I was like, wow, okay, I don't know what accent this is, but I want it.
Sounds.
So that was
That's awesome.
So that was how to be fair, it was like, a pseudo British Malaysian accent lah. It's like, like the Michelle Yeoh, how she has a little bit of that Britishness in her. It was a Michelle Yeoh, Yeoh kind of accent. So I think I made that character into Malaysian Singaporean character. So I'm like, yeah, because of my audition. So I think it's just a matter of presenting these options to people, because sometimes a lot of times casting directors don't really know what they want sometimes, and when they hear something that's interesting, you could change their minds.
It's so fascinating. Again, it's like almost self-perpetuating, where if a voice actor that's up and coming would do a take, they would obviously do the most normie, like American or British like accent take, right? But if only there was a way to like open up or share more about like how different accents could be executed, like people might find those accents more interesting and like have those in whatever projects that they like, have a need for those kinds of accents in whatever projects, right? As opposed to, again, the more stereotypical ones. I'm just, maybe my last question on the voice acting kind of like nuance here is, you mentioned in previous interviews that Mayday, you struggled to do the acting for the Malaysian accent for Mayday and No Straight Roads.
Oh yeah,
because that was not something that you were used to, like doing a Malaysian accent.
Nope.
Right? Has that changed? Like, have you practiced like since then?
Oh,
I mean, I don't know when
completely.
those recordings were. Obviously pre 2020. Like now, is it like?
It's completely changed. Now it's very easy for me to slip into a pseudo Malaysian accent like this. This is the kind of accent that I present for my second take, as a more Malaysian-ish. So it's not super like all the way like my McD versus McDonald. Oh my god,
We weren't gonna bring that up, all right? We don't want
I
Singaporean
caused a war across the causeway.
War to come over here.
But so and it's not like super Manglish or Singlish, but yeah, it's more closer to this. And then I also have a Michelle Yeoh accent that I keep handy all the time, because that's what people know. I mean, they may not know what accent she has, but when they listen, they're like, oh, okay, sounds like Michelle Yeoh. So I keep that handy as well. So now I've practiced it to a point where I can just switch it on whenever the audition sites call for it.
Okay, I think for us, we do want to kind of like bring an episode like to a close. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Maybe rapid fire question from me, just like quick 60-second take. Why is Mass Effect a great game? Su Ling, tell me.
Because you can bang aliens.
And that's it. Okay, cool,
Okay, we're
everybody.
done.
Thanks for joining the 20M
That's the
podcast.
closing.
I just said whatever everybody else feels about Mass
Is
Effect.
thinking.
No. That's what everybody.
Exactly,
That's
you
what
can
everybody
bang
thinks about
aliens,
Mass
okay, at
Effect.
the end. That's why it's great.
That's why I bought the game.
Mhm. See? See?
Yeah. That was actually the only rapid fire question I had prepped. I don't know. There was no other rapid fire.
And I just answered it without blinking. Because
That was
because
beautiful.
you can bang
I couldn't have
aliens.
gone any more perfectly.
Yeah. Really, it's the first game where you can bang aliens.
Exactly.
You know, so
Mhm.
it's
Those
the
Asari, man.
progenitor of banging aliens.
I have not played Mass Effect, but I
Or,
feel like I'm
the
massively missing
Turians.
out on this game.
Which is your favorite rate? Yeah, we're so Mass Effect like noobs. I have the collection sitting on my PlayStation for forever, but I know it's like just knowing you tweet a lot about Mass Effect. So I had to throw it in Mass Effect.
Yeah, I love Mass Effect.
Cool. Yeah, I know this has like been a pretty solid episode so far. Reno, any other things you wanted to cover here?
No, I think that was mostly it. I thank you so much for your time, Su Ling. Thank you for jumping on the call. We're all super happy, super proud that we've got a Malaysian as part of this amazing game, Honkai Star Rail. We're big fans. I think both Arief and I are trying our best to pull Bailu. Wishing everyone on this call a very happy Bailu.
I have not gotten Bailu. So
It's
no,
she's
sad.
it's sad.
It's tough.
I'm sad.
It's
The
tough.
headline
I
needs to be
know.
like, yeah, Bailu voice actor can't
Bailu.
pull Bailu, asks why. Yeah.
And I've not gotten enough polls to get the 300 pity polls. I just hope that by the time I
Yeah.
get
That's so
300 that
many.
it's
Yeah.
still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot though. That's a lot of pulls.
Mhm.
But you know, outside of Star Rail, I know I said this earlier, but like Su Ling again, just to celebrate where celebrations are due. It's like amazing trajectory in the voice acting scene, but specifically in video games as well, right? Because again, like Mayday with No Straight Roads, I know made a really big wave.
Mhm.
Like obviously the entire cast of No Straight Roads, right? That entire game made a really big wave here in the ecosystem. But beyond that, you know, Chinatown Detective Agency and Honkai Star Rail, genuinely excited to see what other projects you have in the mix. But again, just thanks for coming on the podcast. I think such an insightful look into the voice acting, kind of like behind the scenes, right? And some of the stuff that you wouldn't usually hear about what it means to be a voice actor, but have such a tenured career in voice acting. But also all the quirkiness that comes with that kind of profession.
Yeah.
So just really appreciate sharing.
Yeah,
your
thank you
thoughts.
for having me. I enjoyed it tremendously. It was a very fun chat.
Thank you. And for our listeners and viewers, like where can they find you? What's the best place to get more
I
info
am
on
just
you?
on Twitter. I mean, some people have found me on Instagram, but my Instagram is very, very silent because I don't really like taking photos of myself. Blah. So I don't know. Instagram as a platform is just really weird for me. So I am very not active on Instagram. I would recommend to just follow me on Twitter. I am most active on Twitter. Su Chan VA.
Great. Watch the next episode. We
Yes.
gotta work on the outros. We gotta work on the outros. You know. Thanks everybody for joining the 20M podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a hello in the comments. Everybody, let us know what are your favorite characters in Honkai Star Rail so far, and why is it Bailu? No, like no joke. I actually do want to know who in the 20M community is playing Honkai Star Rail, because we've been addicted so far, and
Yeah.
we got to keep the community full.
we have a fan club on WhatsApp with friends, but it's
we
really
just started
it's,
a fan club. Yeah,
it's like a Honkai Addiction Anonymous group more like than a fan
Yeah,
club.
yeah.
Can I
is,
join?
it
Can I
is.
join?
Every
Can I
occasional
self-insert
meme.
myself in there? Because I
Absolutely.
Yay!
We're-
Nice.
We're accruing
Yes.
talents, you know.
Nice. I also like among my personal friends, we have like a Honkai Star Rail what is it, like a group chat? I think what is it? Our group is called Star Rail Times. Su Ling sucks. I'm like,
Oh, that's cute.
my friends are awesome. They whenever
Best friends.
yes, you know, they just shit on me all the time, and they just remind me and they ground me all the time. I love it.
If you wanna catch more thoughts on a Star Rail, again, the previous episode of the 20M podcast, we have a little bit of an in-depth review of Star Rail, but also we talk about main characters in video games, because Tears of the Kingdom came out, so we talked a lot about Link, but we also talked about Final Fantasy VIII again. God damn it, Squall, Sora from Kingdom Hearts, of course, and a couple others. So go check out the next episode. But thanks so much for joining us, Su Ling, and
Thank you.
everybody else, go find us on the socials at 20M.
Yay.
Is it just at? No, it's at 20M
No, it's not. It's
Podcast.
at Tony M Podcast.
It's at 20M Podcast. Like, don't follow at 20M. It's at 20M Podcast. And we'll see you on the next one, everybody.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.